How low can the dollar go? Hi, everyone. I'm Maggie Lake, and today I'm talking markets with Dale Pinkert, trading coach at TradeGateHub. Hey, Dale, how are you?
What a great question, how low it could go. I really appreciate being here with you, Maggie. That I think we're very close to an inflection point in the dollar. I'm looking to accumulate long dollar positions. I think
Mm,
that the hint we have is what happened between the US and Canada last Friday. And can you imagine if there's no, we have to start thinking about deals that are done. Well, if there's a problem with Europe, and a trade deal with Europe, you could get the same type of reaction in the currencies. But like always, my ideas are technically based, and it's really a weekly count that is starting to come into view. And I think at the minimum, we could have a very nice bear market rally from wherever the low comes in the Dixie back to about 102, 103. And depending upon what happens, we'll either resume the bear market or this could turn into a dollar squeeze, a liquidity problem,
mm,
which is something that the market's not showing yet and perhaps won't if all we have is a bear market rally in the dollar instead of the beginning of something big. But picture speaks a thousand words, so let's look at it. And your viewers will see what my rationale is on the dollar here.
And while you pull
It,
that up, speaking of the market not pricing things in, on this day as we're speaking, the S&P hit 500 hit another record high. Dow and Nasdaq advanced. It's been a heck of a comeback as we close out the quarter and the half year. Heck of a comeback for U.S. equities. But we have this dollar action that I know is worrying people. So, and just as we pull up that chart, hi everybody who's joining us live on YouTube and Substack. Great to see you. Pop your questions in, and we'll get to as many as we can. So, what is this picture telling you?
okay, so this was the first wave down that we had in 2022. And it was about 114 and a half to 100. If you're a perfectionist, you'll say it was 98 or 99, but just big round numbers would be 1,400 points in this wave. So into the tariffs, we peaked around 110. 110 minus 14 takes you down to 96, where we're going to have equality with this. Not with
Mm,
this. This means you could go 95, 94. But I think we're at such an extreme in sentiment and positioning. I know a lot of people are talking about it, just like they did in treasuries. And just because they were at extremes, you still have to manage risk because, you know, the treasuries got more extreme for a while. So I'm looking at potential low here. I'll be trying it at 96 tomorrow if offered. And I think that, we still have some divergences on the 4 hour. We didn't hear, we didn't hear. So this is the first 4 hour divergence. And we have daily divergence that the dollar has to dig its heels in here quickly or that'll be blown out.
mm,
But it is still pretty glaring from the low that we had in April, which I thought would be taken out, which was. So it's kind of a new thing for me because your viewers know and my followers know I've been a dollar bear for a long time. But up here, I didn't have any company. Back here, people are talking about the euro taking out par. Okay, now 120 is just a layup in the euro. We're only a couple of 100 points away from it. So I see some technical things here and some positioning here. And, what could go wrong could be tariffs.
mhm,
It could be the narrative that we're going a lot lower in interest rates, that from the bully pulpit, Powell might acquiesce. The president wants us to be like Switzerland and have negative interest rates. Only if that happened, we'd be more like Zimbabwe than Switzerland if we were at negative rates. So we'll see. The pain trade would be that um, this bond rally could be completing, and this 10-year decline in yields could be ending here too. Now you need some confirmation. You'd have to get back over 430, but especially in TLT, I'm really not that impressed with this type of grinding rally that we have had since the Moody's downgrade down
Mm,
here. So if we get back under, here's my level, because you still need a trigger to make a trade. You could have an idea, but you still need a trigger that gives you a technical reason to go in. So I would say back under this channel line with all these moving averages, this confluence, just a shade under 87, that if something comes up, non-farm payroll, um, regardless, tariffs that everyone right now is very sanguine, complacent about. And I've read that even with an agreement with China, that all the different tariffs together could still equal, you know, 50%, something like that. So when people are on Amazon in a couple of months, they're going to notice sharply higher prices on things manufactured in China. And, they say they have a deal, they have a framework for a deal.
yeah.
Okay.
These things take ages in trade negotiations. Trade negotiations are not. I know that the hope is that it happens like a private sector deal, but the history tells us that trade negotiations are take a painfully long time.
Right. So, everyone's sanguine that,
Mm.
everything's going to be just, no supply chain issues, nothing. Everything's going to be the way it was before. And we really don't have anything really inked.
Mm,
Japan's still, they're at loggerheads with Japan, and Japan has their own issues. Um, I think that they're being pressured by the U.S. to uh, tighten again. I actually think that they're not going to go along with it because part of the dollar play is going to happen in the end. And in the end, I'm just looking for maybe one more decline with the dollar here towards 43. Short a little bit, kind of hedges anything I'm long in the dollar at 43. And then I think the yen's going to rally back above this high. And
mm,
people that know my work, the reason is we had a confirmed higher on the 4 hour, and markets rarely peak. So I'm viewing this as a correction off this low, and that we're putting in higher lows, and we still will all the way down to 43, and that there's going to be a rally in the yen, and I'm looking for a reconnect of the correlation that's been kind of disconnected for a while, which is between the 10-year yield and the US dollar yen. And I think when the yen bottoms here, this is when I'm going to start to look for yields to be troughing and
mm,
heading higher. So that's my view on the yen. And, let's look at what happened with Canada on the, 1 hour spat that occurred between Carney and Trump. So we had a pretty big spike on that news right here.
mm.
And although dollar's making a new low here, Canada isn't. And it may not. If I'm right about some type of turn coming in the dollar, the beginning of a month is a pretty good time to reverse, starting a new calendar. So it's very possible that USD CAD does not make a new low, that it digs its heels in here around 36. I'll be trying this against stops under, this 540.
Mhm.
So this kind of is a tell. And there's other currencies that aren't making new lows. Here's USD NOK. It's even stronger looking than the dollar, than USD CAD. So just because the dollar's making a new low, it's mainly against the euro. And cable's been somewhat strong, but I think there's shorts in all of these currencies here. I'll be trying it within the next 24, 48 hours, and getting long Dixie at 96. And for starters, I'll risk 100 pips on that.
And that is just purely because you feel like sentiment's gone too far, and it's extended the bearishness, and it's right
That's
for
a lot
some
of
sort of
it.
bounce.
But you know what? If anyone saw the interview with Scott Bessent on Friday, he said he was in favor of a strong dollar. I think a lot of people miss that. Okay, he said he wants a strong dollar, which is the opposite of what people felt when they came in. That to get our export engine going, they wanted to weaken the dollar. Well, maybe in their mind, 10% was enough for now. So the Treasury Secretary didn't say, "Oh, yeah, we'd like to see the dollar's been weakening, and it's no problem. I'd like to see him weaken it some more." So that may have
That's
been also
interesting.
a
Yeah.
tell.
Yeah.
So I don't. And he said he's traded currencies. I went during that interview for many years in his career. So maybe he has the same channel line as me at 96. We'll see.
We'll see. One would hope, having run hedge funds and been in that macro world, that he knows a thing or two about currencies. So we have some really great questions coming in. I want to get to a couple of them because you just gave us a lot there to think about. Matt K on Substack asked, "Do you think a dollar reversal means bad news for stocks? I've noticed that SPY on euro terms is flat and stuck in a tiny range for the last month, well below prior highs."
I don't think necessarily. I've seen the market rally. In fact, uh, the big decline that we had in the spring was accompanied by the dollar getting trashed,
Hmm.
right? So can it work the other way, that a stable dollar? And I don't know if a lot of people have noticed, but the S&P's made new highs before the DAX for the first time in a while. So, everyone's talking about U.S. exceptionalism being done. Maybe it's not. Trump is winning. Okay, so Basant wants a strong dollar. The whole world hates the dollar. They're talking about this being the end of it being a reserve currency. And when
Mhm.
I really, and they all have FOMO, and they've been reinforced by price. So there's a lot of fuel if we start doing something right technically, to squeeze the bears so hard, their eyeballs will pop out.
Watch out, bears. Watch out, dollar bears. That's quite a visual. I'm sure someone can come up with an internet
Yeah,
meme for
we've
that.
seen it in cartoons.
So that is really interesting and something to be wary of if you're in that camp where you're a dollar bear and are positioned heavily for that. Paul asking, Dale has said that he expects the markets to roll over in July. Does he think this is merely a correction or the start of a prolonged bear market? And I'm pretty sure Paul's talking about the stock market.
Yeah, Paul, I would say, I've been converted a while ago. I wouldn't chase anything. I try never to have FOMO, but I'm thinking more or less a correction, um, maybe back towards 5,800, 5,700, and then we go again. I think the 7,000 club is going to be right by year end, and the prolonged bear market begins next year. And the reason being, we have a ton of rollover debt of all the commercial property and many other rollovers in all kinds of corporate bonds that hit late this year,
Mm.
early 26. And I think that's when the bull market ends, is when we start having credit issues and the problem of rolling over debt, which also will include sovereigns as well.
Which is now you're talking, very serious for an event like that, Dale. And I should point out, it might be different reasons. It might be some different analysis, but quite a few people coming on are worried about 2026. I will say that. So if you have a longer time horizon, you want to think about that, because what Dale's talking about is, as he mentioned, he's looking at things on a shorter time horizon because of the technicals and some of the potential catalysts. And it's, with so much going on, hard to know where they're coming from. If you have a longer time horizon, you want to take that into consideration. Paul
I
asked,
do. I do have a warning for a Wall Street darling that a lot of people own
bring it
that
on.
put in some pretty lousy action last week. Here's Palantir, and
Ah,
I know it's widely owned stock. Everyone loves it, and we had this throw over, and then it got cracked pretty good on Friday. And even with the market really strong, it was up 5, but not much. I think that this is a top, and
mm,
if we get through 124 here, you could be looking at 100 to 85, and still would be within an uptrend, but that's a pretty good knock if you're long. And should that play out, you'd probably want to ring the register on at least half your position and have some cash ready if you like it, to be buying this cheaper and buying a lot of things cheaper. The other stock that I brought up last time was Uber. It was a 3 drive formation, and it worked for a while, and now we're back above it. I don't know. It really all happened in one day last Friday, but it's still not confirming, and it has made new highs. I know a lot of people talking about 100, maybe. So maybe you wait for 90 to be taken out in Uber. This is, I don't think there's anyone that's bearish Uber. It's also kind of a, tech play.
mm.
Uh, and then the last thing I mentioned last month was Google. And Google really hasn't done anything much. It came off. We're at a pretty important inflection point here in Google. And I know they have, there's lawsuits and whatever is setting up here. But, if we can't get through 84, and then we're back down here at this low, which was not the April low. We're coming close to a trend line here. So back under 161, I think Google is a candidate for taking out the April low
Wow.
against 185.
We have a question from Cavi H about NVIDIA too. On the hourly for NVIDIA, there's some divergence under 70. However, would you wait for uh, fourth quarter, I think, 4H to show divergence under 70 to initiate a swing short?
Yeah, what I would
Or
wait
4
for,
hour, I guess.
look, if you're trading an hourly, it's not a swing trade anyway, right? Because you might have divergence on the hourly, and you might get a pullback here, but I mean, go to multiple time frames, and I think the 4 hour is pretty important.
Yeah,
And
I
we
think
could,
that's what he meant. Would you wait for the 4 hour to show divergence under 70 to initiate
yeah.
a
So
swing
what we
short?
need is some distribution. Maybe we pull back if the S&P is pulled back to 147, 150. That the RSI makes a trip down here, and then if we make a new high and we stay under 70, then it becomes a candidate for me. See, it's a different setup than what you
Yeah,
have
I
in
think, Dale, you're
Palantir.
not sharing your chart. I know you're talking
Oh,
over them, and that's okay because some are
okay.
listening and don't
Oh,
have the
okay.
screen anyway. So,
All
but I
right.
think you
Well,
have to
let
share
me. Yeah. Okay.
while you do that. Um, well, we got some. I mean, I'm going to ambush him with some of these. We got a lot of individual stock questions. So it's interesting. I guess this happens when we're getting a rally because people have exposure and are
Oh,
wondering. And Fab Hodl, I saw your question. It's a good one, but we'll get to that at the end. Okay, what are we looking at here? Palantir.
okay. Right. So I guess I wasn't showing it, but see the setup here compared to Netflix, the
Mm,
RSI on the 4 hour never got above 70.
mm.
Okay, so that was gave you a higher probability for success than when momentum's at 80 and you try and top pick something for a turn. All right, and then here's Goog. I was talking about Goog. Same type of thing. and Uber, a lot of momentum here. Maybe it needs to make a new high. But like I said, I think that the Super Bulls they're going to be right. But I still think that you should be patient, not have FOMO, and wait for pullbacks to buy because it will happen. I don't think we're just going to be parabolic from here because even when you have a melt up, it still happens with waves. It doesn't happen all with one wave. I think we're completing something up here, which will allow for some type of retracement move. So that's my view there. And the other thing I wouldn't have that kind of tempers my bullishness in the market is Bitcoin. So you normally Bitcoin leads.
Mm.
All right, this is a second lower high here in Bitcoin, and there's probably a lot of people that think it's just a layup to new highs. But if we take out 106 again, we can make another trip down here to the mid to low 90s, with
Mm.
92 being very important for the long-term structure. But um, Bitcoin can lead the market by a few weeks, and I think this weakness, if you do take a short, you still need stops over this high, about 110. But I think it could make another trip down. It's not leading as it normally does, being the most liquid and reflexive market out there.
Hmm. That's a great point. Doug asking, we got a lot of different questions, but a lot of them are around gold and commodities. And so
Okay.
Doug's is broad, but maybe we can walk through them. Which commodity are you most constructive on? And then people really want to know about gold as well.
Okay. So gold looked like it had a breakdown, and a lot of people saying it was just, this is just corrective. I'm not sure about the short term here, but I actually think sometime late summer or in the fall that I'm going to have an opportunity to buy gold in the 2,800 range.
Hmm.
So we might get one more high in some of the like GDX, but look how we're diverging in GDX. We haven't confirmed a high since back here. We're diverging, and even if we made another high, it's not going to confirm. So you may want to take some of your miners off the table on if it pushes up here to new highs and back under 50 in the GDX. There's a lot of air underneath it. So there aren't a lot of commodities I want to buy now, because I know I'm going to get a lot of hate mail, but I think there's even a chance that silver during that same time frame, if it takes out some support level, that there's so much confluence here down at 27, 26. And this looks like the same kind of megaphone we had in the S&Ps last year. We're not confirming anything on the weekly here. So if we negate the breakout at 34, that opens the door for 32.
Hmm.
And under there, we could be looking at $26 silver. I don't know, that's I'm probably, not many people thinking that could happen, especially since the gold silver ratio has peaked from over 100, which is something I talked about. But, I look at this gold silver ratio, and we could even make another run up at the highs on the gold silver ratio. So I'm bearish metals
Hmm.
right now. I'm not short, but I'm going to be patient and wait for buying opportunities in the miners and the metals later in the summer or in the fall.
Cavi H, that's important. He was asking, or she was asking, what level would you initiate a short for gold? And you're saying not short, but you're just not a buyer here. You're waiting for a better opportunity.
Yeah, and I actually think that silver may be the better short, because if the guys are right about the weakening of the economy and that we do need to be cutting rates, and we have some issues in the jobs market, um, silver would suffer more than gold
Mm.
if there's any kind of growth scare.
That brings
And
up a great point.
and
Christopher
if I'm
asked,
bullish a dollar, I'm not saying that gold can't rally with a strong dollar, but if I'm looking for a pretty good dollar rally, that's kind of a headwind for the metals.
yeah. Christopher asking, can you expand on the USD bull case? Is it enough for Besant to want a stronger dollar? How do rate cuts factor in? And so, there is this feeling that they're really gunning for this July rate cut. Would that change your dollar scenario? How are you thinking about that fundamental side based on your technical feeling that the dollar's looking ready to bounce?
Okay. Well, look, it could go to 94. So this is what I do. At key areas, I probe it. I have my stops. That's what changes my mind. It takes me out.
Mm,
So I know what I'm going to risk if I get long about 30 lower tomorrow. I'm going to risk 95. And then if should that happen and I have technical developments and divergences, I'll probe it again with a stop. So maybe what everyone's hoping for in that July Fed doesn't happen. Maybe that's a catalyst. I can see how people could be real bearish. This looks like a big breakdown, but it's very difficult to continue to make headway with everyone on one side of the boat. So I'm taking a shot. Your best trades markets always look the worst near a bottom
mm.
and look the best near a top. And, you know, I'm going to be giving this a try down here. We'll see. I'm not saying that I can't be wrong because I could be wrong, but this is my trading strategy in the dollar now. There were some times when I was bearish a dollar that I actually went the other way for counter trend moves.
Mhm.
And this is just another trade for me. Don't make any trade too important. Now, I think it could end up being important for a lot of different markets should this play out, but make each trade just another trade. And that way, if it doesn't work, you don't go fetal. And when it works, you don't do cartwheels. It's just another trade.
And if those are not wise words and a master class on how you do this, and live to fight another day, I don't know what is. We have so many questions. I love it, guys. Keep them coming. Although we're almost out of time. But a cash asking, does Dale like crude oil? And we should talk about that because right before we were coming on, we were talking about the fact that Dale had been flagging the possibility of something around Iran happening. It was not on anyone's bingo card at the time. This is months back with Harry Melandri, for those of you who saw that. And so, of course, we saw that move. How are you feeling about crude here, Dale?
It's an IDK. We're back at important support. In fact, this is a breakout, so we could have bounces, but um, I knew what to do down here. I knew what to do in here. I actually got out a little early on half my position before the spike. I wasn't there for the whole ride, but my target was 74. And at target, you know, it's amazing how one tweet can turn into a $12 decline in crude in a day.
Mm.
So right now it looks like a broken market to me. We could have bounces, but it doesn't offer the same opportunity now that it did here. So I'm doing nothing here. I do like the way nat gas is getting hammered, and if it continued down to below $2.50, I'll probably attempt longs down here.
Uh, Fab Hodl asking, and I think someone said, asking about this sort of, stock performance. That's what everyone's worried about. Fab asking, do you think keeping above average dry powder makes sense versus missing a potential crash up?
I think that you shouldn't try and hit home run balls and be satisfied with making money. Your best baseball players aren't your long ball hitters. They hit for an average. And good traders grind it out. They don't try and get rich on any one trade. I think it's always good to have a little cash because maybe there's something you're going to want to do in crypto. Or if gold sells off to 2,800, maybe you want to add to miners.
Mhm.
So I never recommend being 100% in anything at any one time, especially being leveraged on that 100%.
Absolutely. We'll finish up with these two. Again, always not only are you so wonderful about sharing your point of view, because of course this is not financial advice. This is just Dale sharing his research, but really talking about how to have discipline trading, which I just I just want to underscore that because I think it's so important. Ian asking thoughts on Hood and Coin, and we're going to end it there with those two. Are you watching those two individual names?
I'm sorry, I'm not.
Okay,
I
perfect.
could pull. I'll pull coin up for because I think that did explode last week, even though Bitcoin isn't. That's a stable coin, and I don't know anything about what's going on with stable coins, and I thought that one of the campaign promises was there wasn't going to be a CBDC, but it sure looks like we're on the road to that with stable coins, and
Mm.
it's a brave new world, and I really don't. I'm a legacy market guy mainly. I'll talk about Bitcoin because I chart it, but I really don't understand the brave new world that we're going in. Here's coin. Uh, Confirmed high on the daily. Yeah, I mean, you got to buy breaks. Maybe you wait for Bitcoin to come off down towards the 90s and then look at coin. Maybe you could buy it at 300.
Which would
And,
make sense given the
and
run up.
that's an on the fly view,
And on the fly
30-second
reading.
view. Yeah.
We love live
All
streaming,
right.
right? It's
Yeah.
fantastic. Dale, thank you so much. As
Welcome,
I
Maggie.
always say to you, there's no better way to start the week than when we have you on. So thank you so much. We appreciate it.
King Dollar, King Dollar.
We'll keep you all posted because Dale tracks what he says, and he'll
Yeah.
message me if this thing is turning his way, and we'll
Yeah.
make sure to tweet it
I
out.
tell everyone else not to do cartwheels. I because I can't do them anymore.
I don't know any of us should be doing them, Dal.
All
That's for sure.
right.
But listen, fantastic stuff.
See you.
Enjoy your week and your holiday weekend. Good luck with your summer move, and we'll catch
Oh,
up with you
thank
on
you.
the other side.
All
Okay.
right, Maggie.
Thanks,
Thank you.
everybody. Appreciate you as always. Take care and good luck.
Adios.
There.